What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by AUTOBAHN. My name is Max, and today we are checking out the new 7 Series, but with a regular, conventional internal combustion engine. This is the all-new BMW 740D, and although it's not available in all countries, we do have it in the Netherlands and in Germany, and it might be my favorite of the range. It is just so classic BMW 7 Series in its abilities. Last time round we drove the i7 and it is just too much gadgetry and bling for me. I think it distracts from what a car is and it's just too much for me. This, however, has been stripped of a lot of the nonsense of the i7 and I like it. It also has a 1250 kilometer range with 75 liters of diesel, which you will actually do 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers. I've been driving it for 5 days and that is on the nose what I'm doing, so that is super impressive. We've got this oxide grau color, which is very nice. I quite like the color. Still, I don't think it's a good looking car per se. I think it's quite hideous, to be honest. Maybe it's, you know, we've experienced this before with BMWs, maybe it's a matter of getting used to, but for now I'm not really liking it. Although I was driving another car recently and Martijn was driving behind me, and if you are far enough behind it kind of looks cool, but when you get close, ugly. We also have this Swarovski LED daytime running light with actually a sort of a twinkling mode, which is just ghastly. It's not doing it right now. I think you have to like lock the car. Let me see if I can show you guys. It's so tacky. So I think if we lock it and then unlock it, there it is. So now you have this like twinkly star Swarovski tackiness in your no, it's so ugly. You also have like lights in the grille with most of them, and then the headlights are down here. Yeah, it's not a good look for me. It's not a good look. This car has an M package, so that means that we have like an M front bumper. These lights, by the way, iconic glow crystal headlights, they are optional, so you don't have to have that tackiness. Wheel-wise, we have these BMW individual Titan bronze colored 21-inch wheels. I thought they were super ugly at first, but now I kind of feel like they fit the car. I quite like the combination of the oxide grau and the Titan bronze wheels, but still, you know, there's a lot going on. It's a bit too busy. Behind that, we've got M Sport brakes. You can see a little M there. Brakes are fine. The driving experience, we'll get to that later. And I have to say that this is the only place I sort of am able to bear the design. I think the side profile is pretty good. You can also see how freaking big it is. It's like almost 5.5 meters long, 2 meters wide, and it's very high as well. The nose is very high, the trunk is very high. You have park distance control sensors on the side even, because it's so big. This is so ugly as well, don't really like that. And then in the rear, of course, we have the automatically closing doors. Super spacious. There's only one version available, the long wheelbase, and then you have a little tablet here with which you can operate certain things like the blinds. Cool, but this does not have the executive pack for the rear seats, so you have super comfy seats, but not as crazy as the previous one we drove, the i7. And then at the rear, yeah, the front end is controversial because I think it's not that good looking, but the rear is kind of weird. I feel like it's a very generic looking rear end. If you would ask like a 10-year-old to draw the rear of a car, I think it's like this, like, yeah, it's a trunk, and this weird M Sport bumper is also quite ugly. You do have a massive trunk, 540 liters, I think. So that is just massive. And then the engine. We have an engine. We still have to do it twice. Yeah. So, the 3-liter inline-6 turbocharged diesel engine with 286 horsepower, and then it is a mild hybrid. So we have like 18 horsepower of electric power in total, 300 horsepower and 670 newton meters of torque. But it is so quiet, so smooth. You hardly hear it ever. It's only when you really floor it that you start hearing the engine. But when you drive it around, it's like this nice 6-cylinder hum in the background, which is just so good. And then the interior, again, I feel like this, if you hit the brake, the door closes. I feel like this spec is a bit better. It doesn't have those crystal elements, so the seat adjustment and the iDrive controller, stuff like this, the volume button, it's all like regular, like glass. This is nice, it's better looking than that. We've got a bit of wood trim as well on the dash down here, where the cup holders are. Yeah, I like this better. It's a bit less flashy, a bit less ostentatious. And it's very quiet. So we've got the Bowers & Wilkins audio system, which is great. Curved display. You've all seen it before. Go check out the i7 review if you want to learn more about the platform in general or the electric version. I'm now going to drive it and see what it's like. Well, I already know what it's like. It's amazing. Spoiler alert. So, a lot of my hate against this car was based on all the nonsense, all the crazy fake sound, all the crystals, all the stuff you don't need and you don't want, and it's just a distraction when you're driving it. This still feels like a BMW, and that is down to a couple of things. One, I like this spec better because it's just a bit more normal. Two, this car, the 7 Series, the 740D, is almost 500 kilos lighter. 500 kilos lighter than the i7 we drove. And that really ruins the driving experience for me in an i7. It doesn't feel like a BMW. It just feels like, you know, a massive battery on wheels that they had to work really hard to make it handle, you know, a little bit okay. But still, you always feel the weight. It's too filtered. It doesn't feel like a BMW 7 Series. This does, even though it's still, you know, very luxurious. It's floaty, and I feel like it has more in common with the Rolls-Royce than it does with the last generation 7 Series, which we own, which I absolutely adore. This is a lot better than the i7. It feels like, you know, this is meant to drive a bit more. So we've got sport mode, which means that everything is tightened up. The air suspension, we've got double wishbones at the front, multi-link at the rear, and air suspension with electronically controlled dampers with like anti-roll stabilization, stuff like that. So still, even though it's still, you know, very comfy, very luxurious, with this, I feel like if you turn it in, there's something happening, you know. I can feel what I need to do. I can feel how much input I need. It's just a nice driving experience. And it was like, from the moment I got in it, it felt amazing. And I still feel like it's a bit too close, as I said, a bit too close to a Rolls-Royce to be a real BMW. This is so much better than the i7. In sport mode, you do hear the engine a bit more because there are a bit more revs. Now, you still have that hideous, like, diamond, crystal, whatever, light bar running across, but you can turn it off. So if you go to interior lighting, and then you go to ambience. So this is like sport mode, the blue and the red. But you can just turn it off, and then it's just a dark thing. You still have the haptic feedback buttons, but the color is gone. And I quite like this. All of a sudden it's a lot more sober and a lot more modest. So full throttle. Is it a particularly fast car? No, of course not. It's a 740D. But it has enough power. 5.8 seconds, 0 to 100. We did 5.4, so that is also quite impressive. That's a lot faster than BMW says. Now, of course, the 740D, as I said, it's not available in the UK, for instance, or in the US. The US does get a 760, which I'm very jealous of. That's the 4.4 liter V8 bi-turbo, the same engine that we have in our 750i. We only get 750e, 760e, M760e and 740D for now. I'm not sure if there's more coming. But this, of course, is the most suitable for people who do a lot of distances, CEOs who drive a lot themselves or who are driven. If you have a driver, you can, of course, get like the big theater screen in the rear, which is absolutely amazing. That was my conclusion last time. You know, when you're standing outside, not my cup of tea. When you drive it, the i7, really disappointing, does not feel like a BMW. Is just not really a lot of fun, and it's not particularly good. It's just very comfortable and floaty. But when I got in the rear, that car made sense. This car, however, I feel like once you get behind the wheel, it starts making sense. So here we go, you put your foot down. It's still relatively quiet. Well, it's very quiet actually. It's quite windy out today, so we do have a bit of wind noise, but it's still very quiet for this speed. And again, you know, this is sport mode, so the air suspension lowers a bit. It does so at high speeds anyway. But the dampers are at their firmer setting. But still, you know, they soak everything up so well. Okay, so it's very busy today, as you can see. Well, it's also 3:45 almost. So let's hope that we get some more space before the border. But it will do its top speed of 250 kilometers an hour. It will even do a little bit more than that, which is quite rare these days. We have a lot of BMW cars and performance cars even that don't really do their 250 claimed top speed. But we have some space right now. Let's find out. You need a lot of space though. It's not the fastest car, of course. 300 horsepower in a 2150 or 2200 kilo car is still not too much, but at least we'll get 250. There we are on the speedo. Very comfy, very quiet. Awesome car. So finally the new 7 Series starts to make sense. We still have the 750e that we need to test and the M760e, which I'm really curious about. So things are looking good for the new 7 Series. I'm curious to see what the other ones are going to be like. Stay tuned. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this the way to go on the 7 Series, the 740D or 750e? Or do you think the i7 is the way to go? I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking the big button in the middle if you don't want to miss anything. If you want to watch another video, go check out this one or this playlist. See you at the next one. Bye.